From the Riffs!
Welcome to From the Riffs. I'm Carmen Belair.
I'm Big Will Johnson.
And today we're going over the main book for Nightbane. Now, we've already discussed the Nightbane setting, that it's basically our Earth after the dark day, and there's these breed of humans who find out that they can change from their phallicid, their human form, to their morphous form, this giant, well, not giant I should say, but this monstrosity that they can change into, which is apparently their real form. The mechanics of this game are kind of cool in that you have to roll for these powers, and they generally reflect what your character's inner demons and stuff are. So first I'm just going to walk through what you get when you play a Nightspawn. I'm actually going to use the book and just kind of walk through it point by point. First is the becoming. So you have your normal human form, and you can become the Morphous. Your Morphous, though, gets a whole bunch of added bonuses. So you get a set of bonuses to every stat. Then you get supernatural senses. So when you change, you go from your regular form to the Morphous. The Morphous gains night vision and enhanced senses all across the board. He also gains supernatural attributes. So in this case, he gains extra SDC bonuses to his strength and endurance and speed. He gains the ability to mirror walk. Now this is one of the coolest parts, in that the Dark Day brought the two worlds together, but they're still separate.
Yes.
So there's our world and there's the Nightlands.
Now the way to access the Nightlands as mirrors basically become doors between the two worlds.
So they have the natural ability to go through these doors, these mirrors. Now a small mirror, you think you'd never get through it, but when they mirror walk, they actually sort of turn into like a fluid shape and just sort of pour through the mirror from one to another. So they can mirror walk even if it's a relatively small mirror. Then they gain a bunch of immunities. They gain immunity to mind control and to unwanted shape change and vampirism and those type of things. Like I said, their Morphous gains a bunch of bonuses in that when it changes. And they also gain the use of talents. Talents are like quasi-magical effects. Now these could be things like firing a bolt of shadows from your hand. They tend to all be dark. These characters in this game tends to make the heroes as the dark, it's kind of like the dark fighting the dark.
Yeah, we may not even want to call them heroes necessarily, as much as just, I guess, rebels. People in a bad situation. Yeah. This is more of a horror setting, as we stated previously. So you are going to find that most of the things that occur in this game lean toward the darker edge of the creative spectrum.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, these talents that you get, they kind of run the gambit, but they set your character apart. And as you go up in levels, your Nightbane will gain more and more of these talents. So you become slightly more powerful as time goes on, which is nice. When it comes to making your Morphous, now there's a whole bunch of charts, and you essentially roll on different ones according to what you get for the beginning. Now the GM can let you kind of pick and choose, but because each thing you roll tends to come with it a big pile of bonuses, if you pick and choose, you can really make that uber character. So it's usually better to do the random rolls.
Not to mention, it also kind of takes away from the flavor of the game, because this is not to have the perfect Morphous. The Morphous itself is not perfect from a human perspective. The Morphous itself is the man in the mirror, the frightening aspect of your personal being or your personal self. So therefore, yes, though you may be super strong in your Morphous state, you are ugly, or you have tentacles, or you're not going to be. So to try and build this perfect Morphous state for maximum power, but there should be disadvantages or downsides, which add to the role play. Again, I want to stress, this is role playing. not video gaming.
Yeah.
You're not just trying, there's nothing to beat. There's an experience to be had.
Yeah.
So.
Now in here, I'll just do a real fast run through of the tables to give you an idea of what the kinds of tables there are. There's one for unearthly beauty, there's one for animal forms, and then there's a bear table, an amphibian table, insectoid, rodent, arachnid, bat, feline, snake, avian, canine, reptile, equine, and then you can start mixing them up.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah. That's just the animals, because animals are so common that having a fear of an animal and then becoming an animal is really out there, is really possible. Then there's the Stigmata Table. The Stigmata is, if you've ever seen the Hellraiser movies, all those weird things where they're cut and pulled and stuff, those would be stigmatas. And there's the whole table of those you can roll. There's all kinds of things that can happen. Then we have things, some of the lesser charts are unusual facial features, alien shape where you get some really weird disfigurements, unnatural limbs. My favorite, the biomechanical table, where your guy has a fear of machines or a love for them or whatever, and he gets some kind of weird machine-looking piece. I mean, it might look like a completely cybernetic arm, or it might look like you have a giant set of cannons sticking out of your chest, but they're actually a part of you, but they work, which is cool, because there's one gun limb where you can actually have this big gun coming out of your arm, but you can stick bullets in your skin and actually shoot them.
That's awesome.
You can, if you're into bikes, you can have wheels, like a motorcycle chassis, all kinds of stuff like that. And that gives you an idea of the tables. Now, the other books tend to add more tables on, which gives you, the more of them that you have for the game, the kind of the more creative you can have. The rifters have a lot of other tables too, in the various rifters. So if you want more tables to roll on, you can check those out. And of course, the GMs can come up with more. There's no reason why you can't. Like I said, there's a whole bunch of different talents you can pick. But once you get, those are kind of the core of what it is to be a Nightbane. Now, outside of Nightbane, you can also play humans. Humans could be a psychic, so there's a psychic class where you can get psionic powers as a human. You can also be a mystic or a sorcerer if you want to play a human with magic.
Right.
You can also play a Nightbane that has either sorcery or mystic, in which you give up some of your natural talents to learn magic, which is an uber nasty combination, because you can obviously get more spells than you can talents, which means you can take all that natural PPE and power that you have and funnel it into magic and make yourself really killer.
Sounds interesting.
After that, for the book, obviously there's the good guys, and then there's the bad guys. The bad guys are generally the Night Lords. Now, like we said before, the Night Lords control like government and the police and stuff through different pawns and that. So not only do you have mortal authorities to worry about, you also have the forces of the Nightlands, the denizens of the Nightlands itself. First is the doppelgangers. The doppelgangers are basically our counterparts in the Nightlands. Now, not everybody has a doppelganger, but those that do, the Night Lords often take those doppelgangers and use them trying to replace people in order to, to take over like a politician or whatever. So it's very possible for your character to face his own doppelganger. Then you got the kind of like troops of the Night Lords. So you have the Hounds, which are the basic foot slogging infantry. You have the Hound Masters, which are kind of like the lieutenants. You have the Hunters, which are kind of like winged troops. Now, most of these you won't see in our world. You'll generally see them in the Nightlands, but they do cross over back and forth, especially at night when they can hide. You have the Crawling Horrors, the Ashmidi, I can't even pronounce them. The Hollow Men, again, they're another way of replacing people. Then you got a whole bunch of creatures that come from the wastes. Now, this is a modern setting, so you have your guns and weapons, and all that's included in the book, along with magic and everything. It's a good horror setting. It's a good variation of a horror setting. But I think that wraps up pretty much everything that's in there.
I would say so. If you're wondering why I've been so silent, it's because I barely scratched the surface of this game. I played just one campaign, and it was a quick campaign, just to get the flavor of the book. However, I will say it's high on the horror and just great for the creativity.
Yeah.
So, I'll say that's a wrap.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, take it easy.